Greetings. I apologize for such short notice, but today I've been called in to brief you on the similarities and differences between two countries of a different variety. Both of these countries fall under two different categories, an HDC and LDC, a HDC being a country that is extremely advanced in its technology, economic system, and culture, while an LDC is a country that lacks these qualities immensely. To help better understand you with the opposites that both these country types include, this short presentation will help give an example of the relations and disparities from two countries. Sweden, a European country located in the Nordic region in South Sudan, which is positioned near the middle of Africa, being famous and infamous for being the world's newest country. Let's start off with explaining the basic history and geography of both countries. We'll of course start with Sweden. Sweden was established in 1523, located in the Scandinavian region, located in northern Europe. The land is filled with forests and snow with a relatively cold climate. It has good relations with its neighbors, mostly Norway and Finland, and it is a main contributor for the European Union. To explain our other country is going to be quite the challenge. To kick this off, let me talk about Sudan. You see, South Sudan was part of Sudan. They were one whole country. But they had a civil war, a terrible civil war. But in 2011, with a new peace deal, they were finally able to separate from Sudan and become the world's newest country. A few other small details about Sudan is its warm climate and how its landscape is filled with plateaus, and over here we have a table. If you look at it, you can see some of the differences and disparities between both countries. Some differences include their governments over here, being unitary for Sweden and federal for South Sudan. More opposing factors can be seen if you look at the infant mortality rate, for instance, side to side with the fertility rate. If you understand these ideas, then you'll realize that Sweden has a lower fertility and mortality rate than South Sudan, which will probably raise a few eyebrows for some, but we'll get into that in a bit. With population pyramids. Other key details are the differing climates. As you can see here, South Sudan is naturally a warmer country. Populations of both countries also differ greatly, as seen before. Here you can see two population pyramids displaying the ages of everyone living in Sweden and South Sudan, respectively. You can notice some key factors from both of these pyramids, but allow me to explain them quickly to you. On the left is Sweden's pyramid, in which you can see how the greater majority of people in Sweden are in their mid-ages. But you can also see a slight decrease in people where children would be located on the bottom. Thankfully, this isn't as much as an issue as you might think it is, considering countries like Japan have a much lower rate of children in their country. Over on the right is the more alarming graph, being South Sudan's, with an extremely low amount of older people and elders and a terrifying amount of young people and children. This type of population pyramid surprisingly is nothing new in Africa, with most countries having the same structure. Alas, this is a glaring anomaly that truly differentiates the two countries. Migration is an important factor to help give a sense of place for both countries. For Sweden, the first founders of Sweden migrated to the north through Finland and to the land that we know today as Sweden and Norway. Nowadays, Sweden allows many people to migrate without error, unlike US with more harsh immigrating controls. For South Sudan, it's known to shelter many refugees and forced migrants being passed along through transit. It's more of a stopping place throughout Africa, being in the central of the continent. In Sweden, main languages include Swedish and English, but also include German, French, and Italian. Languages in South Sudan vary between regions and the indigenous people inhabiting the land, but English is the official language of the country, government-wide. Religions in Sweden mostly make up Lutheranism, a division of Christianity. Other religions include different branches of Christianity, such as Catholicism or Orthodox. Religions in South Sudan also vary, including Christianity, traditional African religions between communities and tribes, and Islam. For political structure, Sweden has a unitary government, while South Sudan has a federal government. But you might ask, how does this happen? Well, Sweden is a monarchy, meaning a monarch, be it a king, queen, emperor, etc., rules over the entire country. South Sudan is still relatively new, like it's the newest country for now. So it's hard to determine what political structure we're going for. But based on politicians' point of view, it's trying to make a democracy, which is a federal-based system. Here, you'll see the resources and exports of both countries, as well as the GDP. Just talking about the GDP real quick, you can see a big difference, but how does this giant discrepancy happen? Well, you can see from the resources that both countries own. For Sweden, you can see they have a lot of minerals and gems, like iron, copper, zinc. While South Sudan, you don't really see that. They have copper and limestone, but that's about it. They're more focused on farming. But then you'll see the exports. Sweden has cars, machinery, chemical products, clothing, a lot of rich stuff. While South Sudan has oil and petroleum, which can make a lot, but it's just not enough to sustain their economy. Thank you for listening to this presentation with me. After today, it is my intent that you fully now know the difference between an HDC and LDC. Of course, there is much more to learn, as this was just a prelude to true knowledge. As said again, thank you for joining me.